course, Vince Beltrami, Bonnie Jack, and Steve Heimel. So we were going to the break. I know that there was, and I want to find out exactly how you think we can get people to answer these questions. I don't know that we really can, but there was an episode this week with Fox News' Greta Van Susteren. She seems to get a lot of time with candidates that APRN, Channel 2, Channel 13, Channel 11, Channel everybody, ADN, aren't able to get. She's got a whole different access to, especially Joe Miller.
Yeah, and this, I think it's sort of a strategy, because from what I understand, the other Tea Party candidates are using similar things, and they're trying to work through what they consider the friendly media and ignore the others.
Well, I think Sarah said use Fox News.
Well, I don't think Greta got the memo, though, because she was kind of grilling him pretty hard. He looked a little uncomfortable in that one, actually.
In this case, it went like this. It's always hard to make sure you have the reporters to the right things during the election. So we said, okay, we're going to have our news director go to the 11 o'clock news conference that Joe Miller's going to have. So Lori Townsend went to do the story, go to the news conference, see what he had to say, only to find out that he canceled it. So she went ahead, she went to the Chamber of Commerce debate. She watched the debate, and then afterwards, she closed in on him as he's going to the back of the room, as did the other Alaska media. And instead of having his news conference then and talking to the reporters, he turns his back on them, and he starts talking to this blonde woman with a TV camera, who turns out to be this Greta Van Susteren, is that it? Mm-hmm. Fox, he's from Fox. Right. And so Lori puts her microphone into the shot, because she says it's weird he's turned his back on us, but I mean, maybe he's just weird. So.
Right, but I mean, how many times?
So let's start with our questions.
How many times have you and I been outside the courthouse, though, and we all have our recorders like that?
Yeah,
everybody's in everybody's shot.
Even Eddie Burke. Yeah.
Even Eddie Burke. Right. Whatever happened to him? Anyway.
So the Joe Miller support.
So part of Van Susteren's crew came and tried to hustle her away, and she just turned and said, "Who the hell are you?" And somehow in Greta's blog, this turned into some episode where the crew member said that a radio reporter had insisted on getting into the shot, into the interview, and when asked to leave, told the assistant to go herself. Really, this is still out there on the Fox blog. Now, if you know Lori Townsend, she is not the kind of person that would tell somebody to go themselves. But there it is. So it seems like...
Yeah, she didn't work on a boat.
Right.
Didn't speak Norwegian.
No, that's just not her style. She's very professional.
Well, that's amazing.
She wouldn't do it anyway, so they just put it out there like...
Yeah.
Like the reporters are as big a hick as their subject they're interviewing?
Yeah, right. And it's sort of, it's indicative of, I guess, of what I think of as an attitude. I mean, that
maybe an outside reporter.
Yeah, it's an attitude. They don't seem to understand that we're the people that are that the people of Alaska are expecting to report on these things, and we're not having anything to report on now. It's
harder,
become really eerie.
But see, if he's on APRN, he might not get as many donations, I'm guessing, as he would if he's on Fox News, which is really what's driving this. Clean elections, for God's sakes.
You know, he continued after that interview with Greta. He then went outside the ballroom for the Chamber of Commerce and held his own press conference, and that's what I would call the infamous press conference that said, "Thank you, Alaska reporters, for coming, but nanny, I'm not going to answer any questions."
Question.
No, right? He made his statement, "I'm not talking anymore."
Yeah.
The end.
Wow, you know, he has gotten really big for his britches. Because that guy got beat by a Democrat in Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Like, really? How tremendous is that?
You know, I wanted to talk about the race now and where it is. I know we've seen all kinds of polls, and they've been shifting a lot. And I've had folks that are, supporters of Lisa's, trying to get us on the bandwagon, which isn't going to happen.
And that would be the AFL-CIO.
Yeah, and
individual members of AFL-CIO are already on our bandwagon.
Just a couple of them, But
that's not an endorsement from.
But the AFL,
I mean, Richard Trumka came out.
Yeah.
No.
And did an endorsement.
I mean, what
for
I'd
Scott.
say, I mean,
Laborers
90 to
came out and were
95% of the members of the AFL-CIO are still on the bandwagon
we have
with
2.5
Scott McAdams.
weeks.
Yeah. But my question has to do with you're seeing the. Can I ask Bonnie kind of a question? I'm kind of curious on your take here. Now I know you've been a Lisa supporter, long time.
Always.
Since Lisa was born. Let me just say this. I know Bonnie, and if you listen to my radio show, you know that I was painting in a house that had a rat run over my hand. Her house, and her cat was totally out of it and was completely useless.
Not my house, not my cat.
A house she owns.
A house I owned.
And Bonnie, I go to Bonnie's house to do this paint gig, and there's a Lisa Murkowski sign on the door. And I'm like, well, what the hell's with that? And she goes, oh, it's up there year round.
It is.
Okay.
That's who Bonnie's in this place. So
Bonnie, and I know you're, I think, involved in this because at the outset, like a lot of people who encouraged Lisa, think that originally anyway, that she was the only one that could beat Joe Miller, right?
I would say she was the only one in the race, in fairness.
Okay.
I don't think anybody thought about Joe Miller, not that.
Okay.
I think it was less than.
we're talking about the day after the primary.
I'm talking about now and looking at the general and with Scott in there. And, you know, Scott, nobody knew who he was, and there wasn't a whole lot of energy behind him, except for those that had really been introduced and heard him and went, wow, you know, who is this guy? And so my question is, as we start to see these polls and they're all shifting around, and lately it looks like, you know, Joe is kind of flatlined. You know, he's got who is going to support him.
And by flatline, we mean flatlining.
And Lisa has gone up, and then looks like she's kind of, from the last few polls I've seen, is descending. And it looks like Scott is the one that has kind of an upward trajectory here, and has the and kind of has that positive traction. So if you're doing what's best for Alaska and it's to beat Joe Miller, if the polls are really showing that Lisa's tanking, you know, would you ever see yourself getting behind the Scott McAdams campaign if it looks like he's going to be the guy who could actually beat Joe Miller and save Alaska, essentially, from Joe Miller?
Well, let me be very honest. And as I look through the dark, I think I see Patty Higgins over there. She's waving. I will tell you without a problem, had Lisa Murkowski not run her write-in campaign, I had already, when she was deciding whether she was or she wasn't, I sent an email and I think talked on the telephone, I can't remember which, and said, if Lisa Murkowski does not run a write-in, I will support McAdams. And if you put together Republicans for McAdams, I would be a part of it. I am a Republican. I have always been a Republican. But like many, many, many Alaskans, I'm a ticket splitter. I vote for the best person. Lisa has decided to run. Hands down, I'm a Lisa Murkowski supporter. So.
But could be a Republicans for McAdams supporter. I like hearing that in the answer. Cut that piece out. Let's just use that.
Could be. Had Lisa not been in the race. Joe Miller, never.
I know. Okay, you two.
Are we
That's
done?
all.
You can have a cocktail afterwards and discuss
Okay.
this amongst
Okay.
yourselves. So what about you, Steve? No, I remember when we had a time where this just didn't, even though, and maybe I was just not as plugged in, but during the whole Lindauer and all of those races, or Hickel races in Arliss, I never got the feeling that people were at each other's throats the way they are now.
You don't remember the Arliss Hickel race.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It was blood. I don't know about the throat or whatever, but there was a lot of blood.
It was frenzy, and
Yes.
people were extremely wrapped
Yes.
up in it. Not so much in this case, I think the public is actually, like, they don't know. I mean, they're really interested in how this is playing out.
I think the public is learning. They don't know what's going on. They're as aghast over Joe Miller and what he's been up to and what keeps coming up every day. It's called get up in the morning quick.
Yeah.
You don't read the ear, you read the front page of the paper. You listen to the last thing at night.
Well, and we didn't have our Alaska stuff smeared all over the national media.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just plain surreal.
It's embarrassing.
Yes,
It really is.
yes.
I'm just like, enough with the embarrassments.
As I said earlier,
It's-
I'm a Republican, but I am not a party Republican. I am not only a Republican for a number of races, for a number of years.
You're an Ethan supporter.
Yes, I am.
Right, so.
I knew that.
And I thought it was interesting. And polling, I really think it's difficult to poll Alaska. I really do, because everybody's just so damn finicky, and they're mavericky, and they're last frontier-y, and they've all gone rogue when they get in the booth. I don't know what happens.
Alaska with the write-in campaign, I think we have to look at that. I totally agree with you on all the Alaska stuff. I was born here, and I've been involved. Thank you. Thank a teacher, my teachers in high school. But a write-in campaign, I think if you talk to any pollster, new, old, outside here, very, very hard to poll.
It is, but that wasn't the poll that caught my eye. The one that caught my eye, and we just have a minute and a half till the break, but I want to get your take on this, that Barack Obama has more support in this state than Sarah Palin.
Yeah, you wonder if that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Barack's gonna be Mr. Alaska here, but he has more people approving of what he's doing than Sarah Palin. And I think that that may have something to do with the ceiling for Mr. Miller going up.
And in terms of Sarah Palin, I am someone who, while she was the governor, we actually worked fairly close on a couple of things. However, all of a sudden, it was kind of hands off. When she was in the vice presidential run, the national unions were all calling me, trying to figure out who is she, what's the dirt, what do we got, what do you know about her? And I said, we're not going to say anything bad because we've worked fairly well together on a couple of issues. She signed her AGIA bill at my convention. And then recently, she's just thrown us under the bus like everybody else.
Well, y'all are thugs.
She calls all of us union guys who she worked with thugs, and it's the most insulting thing. I can't imagine, what we did to encourage her to go that route, because nothing has changed. She comes, her husband was a union member. She actually worked out of the IBW years ago. But now, for whatever agenda it is she's running, she's found it convenient to attack us and throw us under the bus.
Well, welcome to the lame stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to the lame stream. That's how.
So Sarah, I can't flip anybody off on here.
You can't flip people off, but I think she got the message. Hi, Sarah.
Yeah.
Men speaks for everybody. No, I'm just kidding. We'll be back with questions from our audience for the panel.
For tickets to the More of North show, send an email request to moreofnorth